streamed on YouTube before, but I'm kind of nervous. Hi, my name is Lottie, and I thought we could start trying out a book club stream. I thought that would be kind of fun today. So, hi, how is everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a good day. So I've got a cup of tea with me because I anticipate we might be here for a few hours. Oh, sorry, I'm so nervous. I normally stream on Twitch. I'm not used to YouTube, so I'm a bit apprehensive, shall we say. But this is our very first book club stream, and I'm really excited. It's something I really want to do this year. Start trying to do book clubs because I think it would be really fun. So hi, welcome in. I hope everyone's having a good day. So I'm just gonna go straight into it, and I hope that's okay. So I think we will be doing hopefully one book club stream every month. It is probably gonna be on the last Thursday of every month. I think that will work best. If you guys want it to be on a different day, I can maybe have a think about it, have a try. I don't know if I have many free days, so I don't know how that would go. But you know, if Thursdays at 4 p.m. for me, whatever time it is for you, don't work, let's have a chat and we can work out something else that we can do. But they should always be on the last Thursday of every month. Books will be chosen based on a poll system. I do have a list of themes that I kind of want to go through. I forgot to bring up my list of themes though before I started. Oh, I'm so silly. Hopefully that's okay. We can talk about it another day if that's alright. But what I'm thinking is I will pick 3 books from the list of themes and then we can take a vote on them, and hopefully that will be an easy way to get them done, because then like everyone gets to have a little bit of a say, and then maybe in future we could do like suggestions. I think that might be quite fun as well. I'm gonna hold two polls. One in the community section over here on this channel, but I'll also put one on my Twitter. Maybe I don't use Twitter that often. I'm kind of in like the process of relearning Twitter and like rejigging what I currently have. So maybe hopefully in the future we'll have like polls over there as well to decide what books they will be, and I'll announce whatever winner is separately again in the community tab or on like a Twitter post. I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter. I'm never gonna call it X. That's just me. So I hope that's okay. I don't really have anything else other than that. We're gonna go through like each book. This I should have said. The first book for today is gonna be The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson, which is a young adult thriller / mystery. I think it's more on the mystery side than it is the thriller. Sorry, I'm looking at my other monitor. Wait, actually no, I'm gonna change my setup really quickly. Oh my gosh, this is so silly. I should have sorted this out earlier, but it would probably be easier if I did it this way instead of how I originally had it up, like that. Okay. Sorry, I'm changing things around really quickly. I'm not very prepared for today. I got a bit nervous. So that is today's book club. I never announced it anywhere because I kept forgetting to. I'm so sorry. I promise I will be so much better about keeping on top of the book club because I really want it to work out and I'm really excited for it to happen this year. So I promise I will be much better at dealing with it. And then I'm anticipating I've got about 10 questions for the books, so we can have a little chat. I will normally, hopefully in the future, release the questions at some point. Normally, I would say probably within the first week or 2 of the month. Probably after I'm like done reading it as well. So the questions will probably be quite similar every single month, but we might have 1 or 2 that are slightly bit different just to like mix things up a bit, you know? And I think the streams will probably only be like an hour to 2 hours long. We'll see how it goes. If we end up yapping, they might go longer. If we don't have much to say on a book, maybe we didn't like it or something, it might go a bit shorter, you know? I'm not entirely sure how they're gonna work just yet. But to get into it, so for anyone who doesn't mind spoilers but still wants to hear about the books, I thought I'd give a quick synopsis on it. So like we're all caught up, we're all on the same page. But the reappearance of Rachel Price is about a girl called Belle and her family who are reliving what it was like and has been like ever since Belle's mother went missing 16 years ago, for a British film crew who are doing a documentary on the real strange case that has gripped this small town for well over a decade now. The reason it has stayed with this town for so long wasn't just because Rachel had gone missing one day, it was because she had been able to disappear on the same day twice. Both times, she disappeared without a trace. But the only witness to her disappearance was 2-year-old Belle, who unfortunately cannot remember anything now. But when we fast forward those 16 years, guess who comes walking back into town? It is none other than the myth and the legend herself, Rachel Price. So I really liked the sound of the book. I thought it was gonna be like really fun, and the reason I picked this book to go first for a little club that's starting today is because I really like Holly Jackson's writing, and I thought, you know, I'd kick the year off with a bang. What better way to start than, you know, with one of my favorite authors? But you know, we'll get to my final thoughts a little later on, and you know what we really thought about the book. But it's got an intriguing synopsis, I say. You know, I liked how it sounded. But I will say, and it might just be my fault, I definitely, just from the synopsis alone, I definitely thought we were gonna be more uncovering the original mystery than how the book went. I don't know how to explain it, because if you've read the book, that's gonna sound really dumb, because you are uncovering the mystery. I don't know. I thought it was gonna be more like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but it wasn't, and I don't know. We'll get to that in a bit. The first topic I want to talk about is who our favorite characters were, because honestly, just being honest, I think my favorite character was Ash, and I think it's just because I liked his fashion. I think it's just because he dresses colorfully, and I dress colorfully as well, and I was just like, that's my kind of guy. That's my kind of guy. And I don't know, he came across as a really likable character because he was really easy to get along with. You know, he was very down to earth. But when you consider how many characters were actually in the book, and the fact that I only liked Ash because he dressed colorfully, I don't think is great. I don't think that's the best thing, that my favorite character was simply because of his fashion sense and not because of the substance of his character. But it, you know, I just didn't get along with the other characters, quite honestly. I just never found, none of them were like speaking to me in a way that I was loving. I just never got along with any of them. And it was hard to deal with some of them. And that feels quite mean. And I've organized my questions a little bit wrong. So I would normally go on to like, what did you think of the main character? But I've put that a lot further down the list than I think I should have. But we'll get to my thoughts on Belle in a minute. And you know, out of all of the characters, I guess I would also say I really liked Carter. But again, I think I only really like Carter because like she was quite. Here's a thought. I think a lot of the characters I liked, Ash, Ramsey, and Carter, I think I liked them because they were all easier to get along with as a reader than our main character Belle. So by contrast, I think they all just seemed like better characters, or like more likely to be my favorite characters because I wasn't getting along with Belle. I know that sounds probably kind of silly, But it's true. It's true. It's just how I feel. But the second question I have is, what was your first impression of Ash? Of the Ash I've written. Why did I write that? You can tell it's not entirely a last minute stream, but I definitely could have been more prepared, and a lot of it was last minute. I'm sorry. But what was your first impression of Ash? Because my impression was it was like immediate love. As soon as his introduction came in of him tripping over the wire, and I think he was wearing like a dinosaur jumper, I was like, I love this man. I love him. He's everything I want to read about. And I'm so happy he's going to be a main character. Because you could kind of tell straight away with Ash that he was going to be a main character. And I just loved him. I did. I can't even describe it. I thought he was such a fun character. And I think he was great when it came to Belle and like dealing with Belle, because she was quite abrupt and maybe you could say she was a little hard to deal with sometimes. And he just handled her really well. And I think it's because I found it funny that sometimes in the way he was handling her, it was in a way you would handle like a naughty child sometimes. Because she wouldn't say please or thank you to people, and he'd be like, please. And I just found that really funny and enjoyable. I think he had a really fun personality, and they had a good... I liked the banter they had. I think that's one of the perks of Holly Jackson's writing, is, no offense to American authors, is because I believe she's British herself. She knows how to write banter in a way that's very believable, opposed to some American authors who write banter, and it's not quite what it is. But also, okay, I'm gonna move on to my next question, which is, who did you think was going to be the killer at first? And this is like one of my favorite questions when it comes to mysteries and like thriller mysteries, because I try not to guess the killer, because I have guessed killers before and I have been right, but it's been within like the first 50 pages, which I don't like, and I don't mean to do that, but sometimes it's a little bit too obvious. But initially, oh, hang on, my cat's yelling. Hi, sweetie. Come here. Sorry about that. I try not to guess characters, but with the reappearance of Rachel Price, I kind of did, but I kind of didn't. And I think that's because it was made so obvious in the beginning. Well, not like so obvious, but everyone's pushing so hard. Like the whole town believes Belle's dad murdered Rachel. But it was pushed so hard to a bit where I was kind of like, okay, we're being told it's not the dad, but it's like, we're gonna get this big plot twist where it is the dad, right? So, but I was like, I don't want to think that, because if I think that, I'm gonna ruin the entire story. So then, my second suspect was Jeff, Belle's dad's brother. I forget Belle's uncle, right? I don't know how family trees work. Sorry, my cat was chewing cables. The reason I thought that was because there was a scene, and I think it's in the very beginning of the book, where they're watching old VHS tapes of the family hanging out and being like a family together. And I can't remember what it was. I should have taken note of it. But Jeff had said something, and the dad, I forgot the dad's name, by the way. The dad had like told him to be quiet or something, or like Jeff had let on that he knew something, and I was like, oh, that's kind of suspicious. I was like, Uncle Jeff, what do you know? Because it seems like you might know something, and if you know something, I need to know what you know, kind of situation. I'm gonna have a real quick sip of my tea. So at first I thought it was gonna be Uncle Jeff, but then I kind of abandoned that train of thought, because we weren't getting any, like, little clues to it being Jeff until, like, towards the very end, where Belle starts fixating on Jeff and trying to work out what he knows. And at that point, I was starting to think, well, oh, maybe it's Jeff then. I was like, maybe it is Jeff. And I'm like, so super silly. But no, it turned out to be the dad. Which, we'll get to that in the end. But I have thoughts on that. It's a whole different thing. I also thought for a moment it could have been the granddad. I forgot what he was called. Granddad Pat, I think he was. Because, at first I thought maybe he was just playing dumb, playing that he forgot everything. But the more the story went on, I was like, no, granddad is old. He has forgotten everything. Which, is kind of sad. I'm making jokes. I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I thought it was for like one chapter, I think it was. I was like, maybe it is the granddad. But then I did quickly abandon that train of thought. And I kind of just went with the motions of the book. And the more we followed Belle, I was firmly on her side. I was like, no, it's Rachel. The more information we're getting on her, like, that she's just come back, that she's bought clothes to make it seem like she's just come back from nowhere. The fact that, she had she had a baby sock, and the fact that, like, she took money from one of the teachers. I also thought it was going to be the teacher for a minute. I was certain it was going to be Mr. Tripp. I want to say that for a minute. For like a good maybe 1/4 of the book, I was like, it's gonna be the teacher, but it wasn't. I'm kind of disappointed about that. But I didn't think, I was gonna say something, but I don't want to spoil something for someone else, like another book. But the more we went through the story, and the more Belle found out about Rachel, the more she was like against her, and like the angrier she got, the more I was like, yeah, it's her. We can't trust her. No, she's evil. She's the devil. And I was really firmly on Belle's side. And I think that's because Holly Jackson is such a good writer for that kind of setup, where even if it is the obvious choice, I feel like she can really lead you away from it being the obvious choice by how the character is. And that's one of the reasons I really like her writing, is because I always end up siding with the character, because you're so inside their head. It really, really makes sense. I'm gonna have another sip of tea. Sorry if you can hear me sipping. So that's like, that's how I thought the killer was gonna be. I think it would have been fun, if the killer had turned out to be someone like the aunt, who I also forgot her name. I want to call her Susan, but I do not think her name was Susan. I don't remember what her name was. The next question was, what was your favorite scene and why? And I have two favorite scenes that I really, really enjoyed and I really loved. The first one was the dinner table scene. And as soon as we got to that, I knew I was gonna love it, because, it's a family dinner time, and it always goes the same in, like, how, you get family dinners. And I kind of knew I was really, really gonna enjoy it, and it was gonna be really fun. It was gonna be really silly, because if you've seen a family dinner in, like, any kind of movie or, like, any time a TV show, you get a lot of petty drama. And the way I was imagining this specific scene, I was kind of picturing it, like, because there's this one episode of Gilmore Girls where they're all fighting around the dinner table when they're at, her parents' house, Lorelai's parents' house. If you've seen Gilmore Girls, you know what I'm on about. And that's how I was picturing it. And I think, honestly, I love drama a little bit too much. I love it. I love it. It's like a guilty pleasure for me to be seeing characters be, like, snippy and snide with each other and, like, dropping hints and I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh my god, so many hints are gonna be dropped about who's doing what and who knows what, and we're gonna find things out, and it's really exciting. So that was one of my favorite scenes because I just love drama. That's the only reason I can give for it, is I love drama. So the dinner table scene was my absolute favorite out of them all. And as soon as I like finished that chapter, I think I closed the book and I went to bed. And I was like tucked up in bed. I was like, I'm sleeping happy tonight, because the Price family had a little bit of an argument over supper. You know what I mean? It was just, I think it was just a really good chapter. And also, I've got to say, I don't know if I would count them as my favorite scenes, but they were definitely scenes that I really liked. Were anytime Ash and Belle were like spending time together, because as I said, I think they had this really nice banter going on between the two. They like knocked off each other really well. I think they were really well written as a pair, but as singularly, I didn't like Belle that much. But when she was with other people and she was kind of having like a one-on-one conversation, that's when I think she really started to shine. But also when they went to the clothes shop to find out what Rachel had bought and if it was indeed Rachel, I really loved it. I really loved it. The fact that she like immediately clocked that Ash was looking at this shirt with a pug on it, and she was like, we do not have time for your incredibly bad fashion buying habits right now. And he was pouting. He's like, oh, please, pug shirt, pug shirt. I don't know. I thought it was really cute, and I really, really liked it. I think that was probably one of my favorite scenes. And I think, you know, if it was a movie, they'd probably be like my favorite couple. Sorry, I'm drinking more tea. I'm gonna cough. I'm gonna mute. I'm so sorry. I had some sour sweets before I started. That was a bad idea. I made a bad idea. Okay, my next question. Okay, we're halfway through. We're on question number 5 now. What was your least favorite scene of life? Okay. I can't think if this happened in the dinner table scene or if this was like a different dinner scene. But when we find out the reason why Belle had an accident in the car, I had to shut my book and I stopped reading. Because that one really hurt my heart. I had a really hard time with that, and I had to like sit and think about it for a while. Because it was, and it makes me like tear up thinking about it. Because like, oh my god, so like if perhaps you've forgotten, or if you're just here to listen to it, yeah. Belle's dad left her in the backseat of the car for what we're led to believe is 3 minutes. Because that's what he insists upon. And Belle doesn't like the backseat of the car because when her mother left, when she disappeared, Belle was left in the backseat of the car. And so she's always found the backseat of the car to be a very scary place, very traumatizing. So we're led to believe that she had an accident because she was a small child. I don't remember what age she was meant to be. And that, you know, she just got too scared. And she drank too much water that day. But no. We find out the real reason Belle had an accident was because her dad had left her for 3 hours in the car. There's not a lot you can say about that. He left her for 3 hours in the car. And it wasn't just like he left her for 3 hours in the car. He left her because he was with a woman. You can guess what they were doing. I hate thinking about it. It genuinely, it makes my blood boil. I feel like a little bit angry thinking about it now. Because that poor girl. That will go, and I cannot imagine what it would be like to find that out. You know, like, yeah, she's 18 now. This was, like, quite a few years ago. But, like, and I think it went over very well in the book, but I feel like it could have come back a little bit later on in the book. I can't remember if it did or didn't. But yeah, her entire world, that was her world-shattering moment. And I think that was a really good world-shattering moment. Because obviously, in the end, we find out her dad is the killer. So, her dad has done a number of things that weren't great. Whenever she's upset and she needs to, like, argue with someone, not in a horrible, explosive argument kind of way, just in that she's a child, she needs to let it out a bit. She needs to have that little back and forth of, I say this because I'm the father, I say this because I'm the child. She just needs a little bit of that, which I don't think is entirely wrong. Okay? If you're upset about something, you need to talk to people about it. Otherwise, it's never going to get solved. But her dad's way of dealing with that would just be to walk away from her. Which isn't healthy. That's not right. Your daughter's upset, let her speak. Even if she's not doing it in the most level-headed way, she still needs to get it out, okay? Sorry, I have to take another sip. But we find out that he used to do that to Rachel as well. And we also find out that he used to tell Rachel things to make her think she was losing her mind, which we also find out he was doing to Belle, which both of those, yes, are very big deals, but I think there is such a heavy importance on having your dad leave you for 3 hours for another, like, just to go, you know, with another woman, is heartbreaking in a way that you're not ever gonna understand or get over. Especially, you know, when she thought they were, like, so close, like, so linked in together that it was him and her against the world, and to find out that he chose a stranger over her. I don't know if I'm even properly putting into words my feelings about this scene, but, oh, it was hard. It was hard to read. That one, I had to shut the book because I had, like, tears in my eyes. I was gonna cry for her. And I'm saying that as someone who didn't love her, but my heart did break for her in that moment. Because, oh my god. Like, what do you even say to that? Like, really? Oh, I gotta have another sip of my tea. Okay. I wanna move on to the next topic. Okay, how's the pacing? So I'm never, like, an amazing judge at pacing. I never know if I get it quite right, but I think I like the pacing. It did seem to flow quite nicely. So I was checking where my cat was. I think it did seem to flow quite nicely. I never had moments where I was, like, particularly bored of where we were in the story. But as I said, I'm not always great at telling with pacing, but I will say I wasn't in love with the ending. And it's always gonna be a thing, but I don't know how else I would change the ending. But I don't love where we find out everything about a book in the very, very end. And it, like, all just comes crushing out on you. It makes sense to happen for the character, but I just don't like the big, heavy expedition at the end where it's, like, just a dump of, oh, this is how everything makes sense, so you have to believe it. I don't know. I think it would have been okay if maybe we'd given Belle a few more clues throughout the story, and if she'd been able to, like, guess a little more by herself, if that makes sense. Like, if she... Sorry, I'm moving things around again. Like, if she'd been able to maybe, like, figure one or two more things about the story by herself, then just having everything dumped on her. But as I said, sorry, I keep stepping at my tea. I'm not great at pastrying. I never really know. It's a hard one for me. So it's kind of a hard one. Hang on. I'm gonna take like 2 big sips and then my tea will be done. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I did like I think for the most part the pacing was pretty alright. I didn't like the big heavy ending, and I never do. I never think it's like well done. Okay, the next one is, what did you think of the main character? See, this is the one I wanted to put in the beginning, but I put it towards the end. I don't know why. And as I've already said, you know, I didn't particularly like Belle that much. She's a very complex character, I think, in that she's very traumatized, and you kind of, you know, you understand why. And she's not just traumatized because her mum disappeared and she was left in the backseat of the car and has just always assumed that her mum must have hated her so much that she would just abandon her, because, you know, there's no way to know when Belle would have been found, if she would have ever been found. So there's all the reason to believe that maybe, you know, she was abandoned to, you know, die in the backseat or something, which is horrible for a child to think about themselves. But that is the kind of thing a child would probably think about themselves. So it makes sense. But also, this is a story, like, the mystery, it's a true crime novel that has stuck within the town and was always going to stick within the town, because it was the mystery woman who disappeared twice without a trace, and all was left behind was a baby in a car with closed doors and the heating on and the engines were running. So of course the town is always going to talk about that. And we're kind of led to believe like Rachel was pretty friendly with a lot of people, not in a weird way, just like she was like liked by the town. So, you know, everyone's gonna be like bringing it up all the time. And then her father is he's charged for the murder of Rachel Price, even though, you know, he didn't technically know it. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but he didn't technically murder her. So of course, and then everyone believes the dad's done it. So then everyone's saying it either behind Belle's back, where she can still kind of hear, or to her face sometimes, you know, being friends with other kids, and they go, I don't want her sleeping around my house because her dad's a murderer, even though Belle's like defending him tooth and nail, which that's another sad thing I'll get to in a minute. So she is a very complex character. However, unfortunately, I think when you have a character who is very closed off and pushes everyone away, it's hard for you as a reader to get with them as well, because it kind of feels like at times that you as a reader are being pushed away from the main character as well. So I just had a really hard time rooting for her. It just, sometimes I just couldn't get with her because I was like, well, stop arguing with people, like be quiet. I've had enough of this. I don't know. And like when she'd like complain that Carter was gonna leave her, and it's not fair because Carter always leaves, so she might as well just start pushing Carter away now. And it's like, dude, you're cousins. We find out later that they're actually sisters, but right now they're cousins, okay? Of course Carter's gonna leave at some point. You're gonna leave at some point. You should like want to have a life outside of everyone else as well. Like, it's okay to live as a person. But no, she needed everyone around her to be her life and not have her own life. And I just, oh, sorry, I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. I needed it to go elsewhere. I needed it to go elsewhere as well. I just had a hard time with it. Sorry. Belle, oh, you know, I had a hard time with you. There were parts where she was likable, but there were parts where she was not. The next one is, what did you think of the ending? And as I've said, it wasn't my favorite out of all the Holly Jackson books I've read. And I will be honest, I probably wouldn't recommend this to someone to get into Holly Jackson. Like, even if they've read all her other work, I don't know that I've recommended this one. After having read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, this was, and like being really excited to read another one of her works, this was like a major step down for me. It felt like it just didn't do what I was hoping it would do. It wasn't there for me. It wasn't there for me. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Books come in all shapes and sizes, and I just didn't like the ending of this one. But as I said, there's far too much expedition at the end. I think it is. Am I using that word right? I have no idea. I think it is expedition. You know, there was too much lore dropped at the end, where they're stood in the trailer, and it's like, just, we get the whole story in one chapter. I don't like it when books do that. Spread it out a little bit. Let me, like, at least try and put 1 and 2 together and see if I get the same conclusion that we're gonna get. Like, but no, it all came out in one go, and maybe I'm stupid for not picking up on the clues. Maybe there were clues. But I don't know. I feel like we could have had more clues dropped. I didn't like the ending, and that's all I really have to say. And I will say, having both the dad and Jeff be killed at the end, it was definitely a plot twist, I will say. It was definitely a plot twist. I wasn't expecting it. I was worried because I didn't know how it was going to end. Because obviously, if they had stayed alive, then we had big issues because the dad wanted Rachel dead. And aside from the dad obviously being controlling, there wasn't much more reason for him wanting to kill her. And I kind of wish we went into that a little bit. Like, yeah, he wanted to kill her because she was thinking about leaving him. And he was older and he wanted to control her and make sure she didn't leave, but he was going to kill her because she was thinking about leaving anyway. Like, yes, that is something that can very much happen. But I feel like we needed a bit more than that to make it make sense. If that makes sense. I don't know. I just wish we kind of went a little deeper into his psyche. Wish we could have heard from him a bit more about why he needed to control her. Why it was like such a big thing. Like, obviously he needed to control everyone because he was always controlling the family. And he was always controlling Belle in like very, very discreet and indirect ways. But like, I wish Belle could have just asked him why. And just seen what he would have said as a character. That's what I would have liked as part of the ending. And I think it's sad Jeff died. I do. I think he did make the wrong choice by helping the dad escape. But he obviously did regret it, and I can understand why he chose to help the dad. I cannot think about the dad's name. I cannot think what it is. Does anyone know? Because I cannot remember for the life of me. But it was a big twist. I didn't see it coming. I knew something was going to have to happen with the pair of them, or at least the dad, because he was going to murder Rachel one way or another. But it doesn't really amount to much aside from getting, the aunt's called Sherry. I think. I don't know. I think she is. I'm going to call her Sherry from now on, though. Right, so the dad and Jeff's death doesn't really amount to much, because the story's pretty much done by that point. That by the time we get there, Jeff dying means that Rachel can send Sherry off to Canada quite easily. And the dad's death, well, they'd already thought he left for Canada anyway, so I mean, it didn't really matter. But and it does mean, like, Rachel is technically free for the rest of her life. But I don't know. I guess I was expecting maybe something juicier. I wanted more from it. I don't know. I feel like when we get the entire story in one chapter, it leaves me feeling like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess. But yeah, I needed more. My next topic is, what changes would you have made to the book? And as I said, I don't think I would have made massive changes to the book. Honestly, I would have tweaked the ending. I would have tweaked the ending. I would have given Mel more clues, so we would have had more of the story pieced together. I would have liked some more from the dad, honestly, in him answering for his actions and why he was making actions the way he was. Like, yes, he was crazy controlling in a very discreet way, but why was he in his own way? Why did he think he was like that? I would have liked Belle to ask him that much. And I think just as a personal thing, I would have maybe given Belle more one-on-one conversations with Ramsey, the film director, because they did have a bit of a mutual understanding going on between the two. They seemed to know what, like, the other one was about, and I think I would have liked to see them talk a little bit more. And I think I would have also liked to have been led more in the direction of the teacher, maybe. I don't know. What would you guys have changed? Because I think for the most part, I definitely would have left the book pretty much as the same as it is currently. Because, like, it's okay. It wasn't bad. Definitely some things were left to be desired, but, you know, for the most part, I think it did okay. And also, we're on to the last question now, which is really, really weird. We've gone through a lot faster than I thought we would. Maybe I'll try and come up with some new questions for the next book when we get there. We'll see. But what do you think happens after all is said and done? And this is always, like, a really fun thing to think about. And I've only kind of recently started thinking about what happens after a book. Because, you know, I normally get to the ending of a book and I'm like, it's done. I don't really think about what goes on after. So I think this is a fun question. But personally, I think once the story's done for this one, it's done. You know? Like, everything's, for the most part, dealt with. They're gonna continue on, and they're gonna live their lives, you know? The dad and Jeff have died. Pat, unfortunately, is going to die. But, I'm sorry. You know, because he's an older man. You know, it's said in the book, you know, there's no point in dealing with him in any kind of way. Because he's basically, as sad as it is, he's basically already gone, you know? There wasn't much anyone could have done with him. But, you know, Belle being 18, she's done, you know? She's about to go to university or whatever college in America, you know? Not much happens after that. She's gonna go through the motions of working out her entire life now, because where do you even begin with that? Okay, you're 2 years old, your mother abandoned you, and you think that for 16 years. Your mother comes back one day, one random day, and then, you know, I think within a week, 2 weeks, you think your dad's missing, and you think your mom's done something to him, because you don't like your mom, because she abandoned you when you were 2. So then you're trying to find your dad, only to find out your mom was kidnapped and kept in a trailer for like 16 years. And then you find your dad in the trailer. And then your dad dies, and so does your uncle. And then you also find out your cousin is your sister. Where do you even start processing? Like, what do you do with that? You know, I mean, maybe she goes to therapy. I hope she goes to therapy, but I don't think she could go to therapy. You know, and then, you know, so she's gonna move on with her life. And then I think Carter is also gonna move on with her life, because I think it was hinted that she was only really doing dance because Aunt Sherry pushed her into dance, but she also seemed to like it as well. So I mean, maybe she does go to a dance school, or maybe she just goes to a normal school. I don't know. I think she gets really close with Rachel though, because they were like two peas in a pod as soon as Rachel arrived. And I understand why. Carter's always heard about Rachel, her mystery aunt. It makes sense why they got so close so quickly. And then, I don't think, as far as the like romantic line between Ash and Belle goes, I don't think anything goes there. Because I think she'd be too scared of the risk. You know, like, I think she'd be worried that if she got back in contact with him somehow, everyone would know what they'd done, and it just couldn't go any further than that. So I don't, unfortunately, as sad as it is, I don't think anything else happens between them, which is kind of sad, because I did like them as a couple. I know a lot of people didn't like the romance line, but I don't know, I think it's fun to have that, like, little romantic line in her books. It, like, even though they're a thriller mystery, it's because you get, like, a little tag team mystery duo. It's like Scooby-Doo. I like it. It makes it fun when you get to, because it's like when you get to bounce ideas off of someone. It's just really fun to do, and I think it's nice to read characters who are bouncing ideas off of each other, and they get to be like as like arguably insane as each other, being like going up to someone going, I think my mother is a murderer. I have no proof. And the other person being like, oh, okay. Let's find out. I don't know. It's just really fun. And also, that reminds me, this book kind of had a lot of childhood whimsy. If that makes sense. Let me explain. So, for a lot of the book, and maybe this is why I didn't, like, fully love it that much, is a lot of the book just felt like Belle was playing detective as a child, if that makes sense. Like, it literally felt like two kids going up to each other and going, do you want to play detective? And the other one going, yes, I do. And the other one going, great, let's, like, here's the storyline. And that's how it felt to me. I don't know. But also, I forgot to mention this. In terms of what I think happens after the book, I think that is entirely possible that maybe Rachel could be framed for the death. I don't know. Because although it is said that she throws them down the mine shaft, and like it would take months, maybe a year for anyone to find them. And yeah, I think the bodies would probably decompose quite a bit by then. But surely there'd still be like the possibility of like DNA, or would they just write it off as like while they were living together? You know? What do we think? Because I feel like that's like there is a possibility that maybe Rachel might go to jail. You know, I think it's entirely possible. But I don't know. Aside from that, I don't think much can happen after the story is done. Because what is there to happen, you know? I think maybe Sherry would get to wherever it was in Canada, and maybe after a few years, she would consider contacting them. But I don't know. I think maybe she'd reach out to Carter, and maybe like Carter would have like a worry about like what to do. But I don't know. I think once the book's done for this one, the book is done, and that there's not more. Which, you know, I think that is what it is. But my general thoughts on the book is I liked it, but again, I don't think it was Miss Jackson's best work. I'm sorry, I'm saying it, but I'm trying to be truthful. I liked it, but I feel like maybe it could have been a little bit better. I don't know. There were parts I didn't love about it, and there were parts I really liked. It wasn't a fully mixed bag, but I feel like comparing it once again to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, it did fall quite short, and I'm really sorry to say that. But just on general vibes alone, and like not on the structure or the actual content of the writing style, I'd probably give it like a 3.5, maybe a 3. I don't know, just on vibes. Like, I had a good time. That's about it. I didn't feel the need to like devour it as much as I devoured her previous work. I don't know. I was kind of like, I enjoyed reading it, and I was happy to pick up the book, and I wasn't like mad if I had to pick up the book, but it's like, if I only had 10 minutes to read instead of like an hour to read, I wasn't like too fussed about it. But that's just me. I want to also say, as a movie, I probably really enjoy it. I do think it'd make a great movie, and I think it would be like really fun and suspenseful as like maybe like a 12 or a 15. You'd probably have to take some parts out, so maybe a 15. Do we still rate movies? I don't know. I think it would have been a good movie. Not basing it off the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Sorry, I keep bringing it up. TV show, because I watched like a couple of episodes of that. I don't like it. Just if it was a straight book to film adaptation where things were not changed and it was done really well. I do hope all book adaptations are, and then they're not, and it's really sad. But just as a whole thing, I think it would have made a great movie. I do. I really liked it. So, but that's it for this book club on the reappearance of Rachel Price. I do want to quickly talk about next month though. What are the next theme is gonna be romance, because we're going into February, which is Valentine's Day. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a romance theme. I hope that's okay. I haven't read any romance in a little while, so I'm kind of excited. I'm hoping it'll be really, really fun. And I have 3 books that we can choose from, and I didn't get my copies of the books. Can you guys hold still and I'll go get my copies so I can read the blurb to you guys? 2 seconds. Okay. Hi, sorry. I knew I needed them today, but I totally forgot them. Okay, so the first book is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. And I think, by the way, these are all anticipated reads that I had from last year, I think. So the synopsis for First Time Caller is Aiden Valentine has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love. Which, as the host of Baltimore's romance hotline Heartstrings, is a bit of a problem when a young girl calls into the station asking for dating advice for her mother, Lucy. The interview goes viral, thrusting Aiden and Heartstrings into the limelight. So that's option 1. I think it's really cute. I'm kind of hoping secretly this one wins. Option 2... Okay, this one's a really silly one. but I think it might be fun. It's a paranormal romance. So this is fan service by Rosie Danon. I think that's Dana. The I'm so embarrassed. This is another anticipated read. They're all anticipated reads. He's not a real werewolf. He just played one on TV. The only place small-town outcast Alex Lawson fits in is the online fan forum she built for Arcane Files, a long-running werewolf detective show. Despite her secret disdain for the show's star, Devon Ashwood, Alex's dedication to archiving fictional supernatural lore is second to none. Ever since his show went off the air, Devon and his career have spiraled, but waking up naked in the woods outside his LA home with no memory of the night before is a new low. It must have been a coincidence that an ultra-rare wolf blood moon crested last night. The claws, fangs, and howling are a little more difficult to explain away. Desperate for answers, Devon finds Alex, the closest thing to an expert that exists, if only he could convince her to stop hating his guts long enough to help. I mean, how could we not? How could we not? I think this one sounds really fun and silly. And also, it's really outside of anything that I would normally choose to read, so I think that one could be kind of fun as well. And our last option for February is Finders Keepers by Sarah Adler. Last week, Nina was a professor about to move in with her long-term boyfriend. Now she's single, unemployed, and living with her parents. Even more shockingly, Quentin, her childhood neighbor and fine crush, is also back in town and wants to resume the treasure hunt they abandoned almost 20 years ago. Hoping the reward promised to whoever finds the rumored riches will fix everything, Nina agrees, and as they resume the hunt, Nina and Quentin rediscover all the things they once loved most about each other. But if there's any hope of finding what they're looking for and a future together, Nina and Quentin will have to be brave enough to excavate their past as well. So I kind of like the sound of all of these, and I kind of want to read them all. If I may, actually. I might read them all, no matter which one we pick. But I think they all sound really fun. As I said, I kind of hope first-time caller ones, but then I also hope fan service and Finders Keeper win. I don't know, I want to read them all. They were my anticipated reads for a reason. I think they all sound good. So we're going to be doing a poll on these 3 books. Whichever one you think sounds the best, give it a vote. But the poll is going to go up on the community post. So, sorry. The poll is going to go up on the community post side. So, you know, people have time to vote. If they're not here today, that's okay. I don't know when the poll is going to close. I don't actually know how long polls last for. The poll will last for however long, and then it will close, and I will announce the winner in a community post, but also on Twitter probably. And we will probably do similar questions next time, but because it's romance, we might change it up a little bit. I will probably post the questions as well at some point, so we all have time to think about like answers and like what we'd want to talk about. If you have any questions you want to like, or topics you want to talk about in the next stream, let me know and we can like work those in as well, because I think that might be good. But that's it for today. I'm really happy with how our first session went. Thank you all for coming today. Maybe if you like it and want to join in next time as well, maybe consider, you know, subscribing or something. I don't know. But I also, if you like gaming and like cozy gaming and that kind of thing, I also stream on Twitch as Just the Tea Bear. You can find me there. But that's it. Bye-bye, and happy reading. And don't forget to vote on which book you want us to read next, okay? Bye-bye.